Afternoon, everybody. Just kicking things off, and we'll be starting in about a minute's time. All right, Dave, are you ready to go, mate?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Cool. Well, there's normally some more people that'll join over the next couple of minutes, but a big welcome to everybody that's already joined along. Great to have you here. I'm Callum Galloway. I'm Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at IT360, and we've got our Chief Exec, David Wilson, that will be running through the presentation today, which we're very excited about having on board. So a little bit about us, because a lot of the people that we've got on the webinar today, we don't engage with on a day-to-day basis. So a little bit about us. We're a 32-year-old IT business that has been certainly making the most of the past 3 years, this wave of AI technology. So incorporating it in our businesses and now working with our customers on developing solutions and really understanding what's going on within their businesses. And so today we're going to be, over the next sort of hour, we're going to have a practical look at some tools, some real life examples from how we've been working within our business and also with our customers. Certainly not a sales pitch, pretty much just a working session. So we've been loving education around AI. We're cracking probably 80, 90 workshops over the past 2 years now that Dave's been driving, because there's a lot of need to kind of understand what's going on in this space. And we've had to update the workshop quite a few times because it's kind of moving a lot and it's kind of changing a lot every sort of 2 seconds, it seems. So a little bit of housekeeping for today. So the session runs for about an hour, including some Q&A at the end. But if you do have questions throughout the session, just feel free to chuck them in the chat. More than happy to jump on that as well. You're on mute by default, so we're just to keep things clean and keep things moving. So if those that are technically challenged out there trying to figure out what's going on there, that's an admin setting. So we are recording it, so we're going to drop a recording of this in your inbox. So if it is interesting and you do want to share it with some of your colleagues and your friends, feel free to do that tomorrow. It'll be in your inbox by probably end of today as well. At the end of it, we're also going to be sharing a couple of interesting assets that we've created around AI fluency and agent readiness, effectively, for your organization. So we would love for you to go through those, and any sort of feedback you've got on those as well. We'd really be keen to hear from you on that. So yeah, grab a coffee if not, or a cup of tea, or probably a little early for a wine, maybe not. And we're going to crack into it. So over to you, Dave.
Awesome. Thanks, Cal. Guys, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen. Definitely let me know if you can or cannot.
We definitely can, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Cal, for the intro. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in. Just want to quickly give you preface today in terms of what my goals are and what you're here for, what you found yourself on. My goal for you today is to show you what AI is actually doing in business right now. This probably is not your first time on an AI training session. I think most of us are getting bombarded with AI all day, every day. As a business, as Kel said, we're living and breathing this. I'm not sitting here today, pretending to be somebody who's gone through, the theory of AI. I'm someone that's living and breathing it. We're the business. As a business, we're living and breathing this. This is something that's part of our DNA. We're trying to become an AI first business, trying to challenge ourselves to shift from being a 30-year-old company that's multi-generational. I happen to be the son of the founders. So now for me to think about how I approach AI going forward. So today I'm talking from leader experience. I want to share stories. I want to hear your questions. It's really hard sometimes for me to prepare for things like this because it's hard to know what not to say half the time. What I want this to be though is valuable for you. So your insights, your questions, please don't hold back. Ask questions in the chat. Callum certainly will read them and maybe about a chat during. Obviously, I can't multitask too well. But I do want to hear from you because we'll have some time to do some Q&A as long as I don't talk for too long. I want to spark new ideas for you because a lot of what I'm seeing and I'm experiencing is that most people are interested in AI, but they haven't really experienced it beyond a chatbot. Some certainly are, and I know even a couple on the call, I can see your names, that you are certainly dabbling beyond the chatbot, which is really, really cool. And I hope today is a spark of new ideas. I hope that you can see what others are building and what's now possible for you too. Because I don't know who you are, what role you have, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a manager, whether you're new to your business or you've been there for 25 years or 30 years. But all I do know is that AI is changing almost everything. It seems to be a completely new, like an industrial revolution, to which we are living through right now. So there's certainly for business leaders that are keeping their eyes wide open, I think we will be able to make the most of this. So if nothing else, I hope that you leave inspired to reinvent the future of your business or your role with AI. Couple of things that you might be feeling, that you might be already using AI here and there, but you're still far, far away from leveraging its true potential. Or potentially, you've seen other people, use AI. The gap isn't access to AI anymore. It's not that it's a tool problem anymore. It's the connectivity to our data. It's our ability to use this tool. The tool could be amazing. I could give a chainsaw to my 3-year-old and he will hurt himself and others with it. We've got this difference between the tool we have, this amazing power AI, which is an absolutely incredible intelligence across whichever platform we're using. It's not the tool, it's the person plus the tool, it's the harness. It's our ability to work with it, to harness the energy and actually use it for the right things in our business. Before I move on, I want to quickly introduce myself as someone who's talking to you for the next 50 minutes or so. Firstly, 15 years in the IT business, Callum mentioned it, running it for 10. It's a 30-year-old business. I've also got 3 kids at home, so it's they're 5 and under. So I'm a dad of three children. It's been an interesting 5 years, going from COVID and my daughter through to a 2-year-old and then a second kid going to the AI era. I'm certainly going to look back on this time, I believe, and will it be like, wow, that was quite a lot of change in a short amount of time. I'm into music, technology, and family. And as I said before, we're using this stuff in our business day to day. So everything I talk about today is again not theory. It's something that I'm living, I'm breathing. I am absolutely passionate about this. I love it. I've almost replaced 99% of all Netflix with AI at the moment. And as Carl said, we've run about 80 workshops or so in the last couple of years. Personally, myself, done all of them. I'm championing the building of applications, of automations, of AI systems in our business. Now, at this point, we're about 200 automations deep and about 15 or so or more, actually, web ground up web applications built as well from the ground up. These are small businesses, medium businesses that are wanting to reinvent their future, that look at the shelf and say, oh, this ERP system or the CRM system was our only choice before to look online at what was possible. Now it's actually more economical, or it's actually now possible for us to make our own apps, because we can make it like a tailored suit, not like we look at their system and we have to change our whole business to orient them. No, we will make something that's like a glove to our business. So today you'll see stories like this. I want to share stories about how customers are turning product knowledge into chatbots, freeing their staff from chasing answers, customers that are saving 400 hours a month with automation, customers that are building new revenue lines that weren't economical before AI, but AI's giving people the ability to do new things. Before we move on today, I also want to ask you a question, or have you reflect on a question, which is why are you here today? Are you looking at picking up new tricks for yourself? Because as I've done so many workshops and I've talked on stage a few times, a dozen times or so, I know that in the room, there's people that are on really two extremes, at least, which is that I'm kind of just starting with ChatGPT, or I haven't even got a subscription. I'm still hearing people and talking to people that are like that. They haven't even taken their first step, through to people that are already building, testing, and they simply want more, and all in between. I also talk to companies that believe that they're going good with AI. They say to me, "Oh, we're doing really well with AI," and they are. It's just the question is compared to what? We might think we're doing good until you see that other people are doing a lot more, and you start to realize, oh, there's actually different levels to this. So why are you here today? Do you want to create efficiency within your business? Do you want to change the way that your team works? Are you hearing how others are doing it and want to do it yourself? Do you want to not get caught out by your competitors who are already using AI? Or do you want to make sure that your business wins over the next 10 years and you don't get that sort of feeling of left behind? This is a picture that I made with, of course, with AI. It was actually made by Gemini. The steam engine, the printing press, the sewing machine, electricity, and AI. Every so often, a tool reorganizes work itself, completely changes the world. And interestingly, as I did some research, excuse me, for a talk that I had a couple of months ago when I first made this particular slide. Slides for today have been completely changed by then, but this particular slide, I was super interested by putting myself in the shoes of people that have gone before us, the people that lived through certain time ages. I would have maybe, let's say I'm 38 years old, let's say I was born into the steam engine being invented. I likely wouldn't have seen that change happen in my entire lifetime. Probably nor the electricity or even the telephone. I might have just seen it. Interestingly, there's as different technology revolutions and things have happened, the speed of which adoption has rapidly changed. And we go down to ChatGPT. You may or may not have heard the stat, around 2 months to get 100 million users globally. And that is just a sign of the times. Distribution is clearly wildly effective, as well as, of course, the technology itself being amazing. And that number is well in excess of 1.5, 1.8 billion users now, only 3 years in. And I would say a new era of AI is actually here. And when I mean that, I actually mean we've kind of gone beyond the chatbot already. And we're now into this kind of agentic era. You may have heard that term about agents, and that may be a scary term, and maybe a interesting term. I want to explain it today, and if you've got questions on it, please again drop your chat in the chat box. An agent really is, I sort of imagine that MIB episode, or the movie The Men in Black, or like the Matrix, Agent Smith or something. But it might be more easier to talk about it as more like an assistant, like a digital employee, like someone who's there to help you. An agent moves from an AI has moved from answering questions to doing actual work. And again, if you have not experienced this kind of wow moment before, I think that will be coming. And this is where I used to have to just chat with ChatGPT when I thought of it. And so my usage of AI was 1 time a day, 5 times a day. Whenever I sort of thought about it, I had an email to write, I would use AI. But absolutely opposite of that is an agent which works for you 24 hours a day. And this really changes the math, it changes the rules, and it makes companies reimagine. And it's actually why companies are reimagining the way that they do work and how they'll do it, because ultimately this is what's going to drive change and competition, I think, in the coming years. If you think about one lawyer who uses AI to write, he's still limited to that time he has in his 8-hour day, versus a lawyer that adopts 25 AI agents which work for him 24/7. All of a sudden, this lawyer can do probably 10 times the amount of work that he could have done without it. And all of a sudden, you realize someone else is playing with different rules. And if you aren't playing with those rules, you may start to feel like, holy crap, I am falling behind. Interestingly, stats, and these stats are always changing, but there's a couple of stats that I quite like. That 88% of people are actually reporting that they're using AI. And again, it's hard to know what that AI means or, what level. And yet from the workers, from the actual staff, the data is quite clear, and it's actually corroborated from many different sources. But this particular source, which was really interesting, from Section, which came out in this year, January 20. You can look it up, proficiency report. A great little report came out of the US, and they said that 85% of the 5,000 workers that they surveyed actually have no beginner or no use cases at all. So we've got this huge discrepancy of AI capability to people that don't know how to use the tech. And a guy named Greg Shove, who's actually the CEO of that company, said, we've handed our knowledge workers the keys to Ferraris, and we're letting them drive into trees. It's like we've given these people powerful tools, and yet we're letting them just go wild, or they're not driving at all. They're not actually effective, right? But imagine if your team actually did learn to drive this Ferrari. What would it be like to have the same team but have more capability? What would that mean for your business? And that's certainly a question that I'm asking myself, and I'm trying to challenge my team. Yeah, we're a team of 30 people, but what if we could act like a team of 60 people? Right now we see our competitors and we go, well, you know what? That's a company of 200 people. What if we could act like a team of 60, but with only 30 people? That changes the math a bit, right? Because most people, and there's actually another, sorry, let me take a step back. A lot of people are treating AI projects like a carpenter. This actually was an awesome article that I read from a guy named Tobias. As you think about AI projects, I think many business owners have been through one or more changes, whether it be IT projects, and they think, AI equals software equals IT. And with IT, we measure twice, cut once. We do these big plans and these big builds and these big high-risk projects. We don't want them to go wrong. Whereas Tobias actually talks about this idea of it should be more like a gardener, where we plant seeds and we nurture what grows. Because AI is brand new, a lot of it's exploratory. A lot of it, we don't actually know the value unless we start planting seeds and seeing things grow, unless we start experimenting. Hence why, for me, it was very natural. But as a leader, I was hands in, get my hands dirty, do it myself. That way I got the well moment and I could pass it on rather than me waiting for others to tell me about it. As a leader, I've learned that AI value is emerging unpredictably. And what I mean by that is I don't actually know, and I'm genuine in saying this, I don't know necessarily where the next value is going to be until I go through it. It's like walking through a cave with a torch. I can only see the next 3 steps. Like, I know that there's something else out there, I just can't see it yet. And I can certainly explain that and even talk to that as I talk about, and I share some stories about what we've done in our business. I have an idea of what I want. I solve a problem that I think I need, but once my staff start using it, the value, the true value for my staff is actually much higher. So I'm encouraging you today to get your hands dirty. If you're not using AI yourself as a leader, as a business owner, make sure you're not offloading it. This is how gardeners get ahead, getting your hands dirty. And before I jump into the next section, I wanted to say, again, some people, you may be already ahead. This is not advice for you. But if you aren't, feeling like you're making progress, I would encourage you today to start thinking about your $10,000 problem. It's a really interesting frame. Every company has staff. Every company has sales. What is a $10,000 problem? Because most people that are wanting to get ahead with AI, they might have a trust issue. They might say, I don't know how I could get that problem solved. And really, if you think about it, I don't really trust either the AI because I've heard some things, or I don't trust a supplier to solve this. But what's a $10,000 problem you could solve? $10,000 problems look like this. They look like time being wasted on weeks of work or days of work that should take minutes now with AI. They look like chasing quotes and approvals and follow-ups that didn't move on their own. and that results in lost business. It looks like missed opportunities, the leads, the upsells, the renewals that slip past the door, the quality, the redo, the inconsistency, and the gaps that lose customers or even staff. Sometimes they're a lot more than $10,000 if we're honest. But sometimes the $10,000 problem is like the first thing we should solve for. And I want to share a story about our $10,000 problem soon as well. In terms of where AI is moving, it's moving in a whole lot of directions. It's moving in text and voice and music and images and videos and code. We've gone so far with AI from images like that look like there's an astronaut riding a horse as a pencil drawing, or koala dunking a basketball, through to absolutely, you can't even tell the difference anymore sort of technology where you've got this unbelievably realistic image of the Pope in a puffer coat, or you got the Jesus and the disciples, the selfie of the Last Supper. You got a room, empty room, and some businesses are going to be using this technology to their advantage. We got an empty room of Google, and what I did was I then went, let me take the blinds and the throw and the bed, and I said, AI, imagine what this room would look like for me. And within all of 3 seconds, you get the image pulled together. And I think for businesses, you can start exploring the way that we can use images like this, whether it be for yourself and your wife at home, or your husband at home, your partner at home. You're looking at a new house, just use image models, because you would save a lot of money renovating a house before you actually hit go. And if you really want to get creative, you can add a couple of dogs. You can even have those dogs move around as well. Then, of course, in video land, this is all AI. You can create unbelievably realistic videos now. And the interesting thing about this video is not that it looks quite cool or realistic or not. It's actually the fact that it's actually how realistic it was against the original photo, which I can't show you or haven't shown you, but this was an original photo, and it's turned into a video. And a client of ours, this is what we put together for a client of ours. And you might say, oh, an IT company putting together videos. I know it's strange. We've got a branding problem right now, but we will fix that. But yes, this is like an AI video for a client where we say, look, we believe we can pull this still imagery into videos. If you've got any business that wants to do advertising, I'm talking to customers in all sorts of fields now going, we've wanted to do videos, but we can't because it's prohibitive. Well, right now, if you know what you're doing, AI can do it. So what's possible? AI is absolutely magic, right? Fast decisions, accurate work, greater insights, less tedious work, all at light speed. Gen AI is amazing. It's multilingual. It knows so many languages. It's trained on the world's knowledge. Almost every single domain you can think of, it's going to know something about almost. It's way faster than our hands and our eyes. This thing is typing at crazy speeds, thousands and thousands of words a minute in some cases. It's designed to work for you. It wants to be helpful, which has its pros and its cons. Follows your rules, and it finds and recalls, and it acts fast. But really, the magic really, I think, comes when you add your world, your IP, your policies, procedures, your legislation, your data, your brand, tone of voice. I want to share our first internal project. I call it this one ugly admin job. It's approximately $10,000 a year. Again, if you think about this, if I scroll back in my mind a couple of years, the story is this, and I want to share these. By the way, before I move on to this, I want to share a couple of points on this. Number one, everything I share when it comes to stories isn't to say, oh, cool, we did this thing. I don't know who you are or what your role is, but I hope that you take some inspiration from it. Or you might have a similar situation which you could apply. Okay. And again, you're more than welcome to drop a comment in the chat, and I can help answer that if you had a specific example. So for us, we had an admin, a pretty heavy admin role. We needed, and this particular role was actually specifically around end of month, and it was really time consuming. We had a few pressures on us at the end of month, as most businesses do. The admin person's boss was also under pressure. So we had this particular supplier invoice. We got these supplier invoices, about 80 of them, and we had to turn them from messy PDFs into bills, to client bills. That resulted in a lot of copy and pasting, a lot of CSV manipulation, copying and pasting from PDFs into spreadsheets, from spreadsheets into pivot tables, to pivot tables into 0 line items. And that whole thing was really rules-based. It was like turn this 80, sit there for 2 days on end, or a day a month, and just copy, paste, click, go. Very rules-based. And so for us as a business, we thought, actually, there's something that we want to automate. So we did that, and it ended up being the first AI project where our team went, oh, and it was actually technically not AI. It was a bit of AI. It was AI on the PDF side, and then it was automation on the CSV and 0 integration side. But that, if you think about like anything with AI, with any skill, with any development, any innovation, the analogy I'm using is muscle. The AI muscle grew. We got better at AI. We realized, we learned to trust it. We're like, actually, you know what? That was really cool. I used to spend my entire day doing that. Now I can trust that this thing just gets handled for me. It's like we've deleted that workflow off our business completely. Never have to do it again. So for the last 2 years, we've benefited from that. But our first project talk us about the second and the third, because you know what? For us to build a system of extractions of PDFs, we had to learn a few tricks and techniques. And then we could apply those techniques to any situation of any PDF. For us to push bills to 0, we had to build a 0 integration. And trust me, we had to use that 0 integration another dozen times for both us and for customers. For us to build CSVs, we had to learn about CSV manipulation, and we could use that again and again and again. Like 3 ingredients in a kitchen: flour, egg, and water. Depending on how you mix it and what else you mix it with, you can turn anything into a cake, to a muffin tray, to scones, or whatever you want, really, to pancakes. Those ingredients become lessons that you learn. And so that 240 hours did not just disappear. It moved into higher value work. And what I mean by that is the person that in that role didn't just stop doing 240 hours. She didn't take a day off a month, right? I'm sure she wishes she could. But as a business, what actually that meant for us was that her boss got support. And I don't know about you guys, but our business is busy and there's not ever a dull day. And so for this admin role, saving time meant that she was more available at the end of the month for her boss, which actually meant that she was less stressed, which actually meant that I was less stressed, because I could push the work down the organization in that sense, right? Because I reported to this person's boss. This person's boss reported to me. The next thing for us, I talked about that muscle growing. So then we had a clear need for an operations coordinator in our 30-person team. What this means for us, again, we got our field engineers, our engineers that are out there doing the work for customers. And when you get to a certain point in time, you need someone to grease the wheels, to manage the communication, to make sure people do what they say they're going to do. And for us, that perfect candidate was Shannon. She was sitting in an admin role but just completely bogged down by this admin work. And so those early quick wins gave us confidence to take the next step. Actually, hey, could we actually take that one step further? Could we take that 10K problem and make it like a 90, 80, 100K problem? Can we actually go the whole way, potentially? And so we actually sat down and we're quite serious about that. And we ended up saying, well, we need someone anyway. And we actually went through a process where we actually went to hire. We had 2 shortlisted candidates, and neither of them were actually the one that we thought we'd bring in. So we actually ended up going, well, you know, we actually got some pretty quick wins there. Let's actually weigh this up. Hire someone for $90,000 or spend some time and do some automation. And we chose the risk, we placed the bet, I guess. Hey, let's give it 3 months. We'll try and automate. We ended up actually being able to achieve our goal there. And we never actually hired that role. What we ended up doing was promoting Shannon, giving her that pay rise instead, giving her not just a pay rise, but an opportunity to grow as an individual. So in a sense, AI took a role away, but it also gave somebody the ability to grow as a person, which meant that she was happier. She was challenged in her role. She's now growing her career. So it was a win-win-win for everybody. Next, I want to talk about some real customer stories. And there's so many to pick, but I've got a few. And every customer story really, I think, is some version of this. And I think, again, this is for you. Have a think about this for your business. I think with an AI strategy, we've got a mixture of the cut and the create. If we're going to roll out AI, what does that mean? Well, it could be anything from a chatbot to training to a new to an automation, like this $10,000 problem, to a excuse me, to a full-on AI knowledge-based system. It's either going to be, well, I reckon you should think about this in two ways. Am I cutting old tasks, old workflows, old admin, old rework? Or am I creating? Am I creating new revenue, creating new assistants, new dashboards, new services, and new workflows, or a bit of both? I think most businesses will start at the cut because it's the most obvious, and then we'll move to the create. Before I go into customer stories, again, I want to share just one slide. Again, this might be something that you might find useful. Feel free to screenshot it or to write it down. But again, most businesses I'm working with are on this sort of continuum. And I start to think about this continuum in our own company as well. Most of us, when we started using AI, we used it as an assisted search. And I think most companies and employees are right here today. We're using it as a better search engine. Maybe as we get better and we start to do some intentional prompting. And that does feel like magic. And it really is. And it's a significantly better, when you start becoming intentional with your prompting. You might have prompting libraries, you might have prompting, copy and paste. And this is good. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying this is really good. This is the progression. We go, I want to be able to create a sales proposal rather than starting from scratch every day. I actually have an amazing sales prompt that I've actually worked on. I'll save that in a Google Drive or something, and I'll come back later. Then, of course, the models themselves are starting to adopt something called a skill. And typically it's actually led by Claude, if you use Claude, but the others are cottoning on as well. We can actually take those prompts, turn them into what's called skills, which essentially are a standard operating procedure for an AI agent or an AI bot. And then they become kind of like, when I can chat to my Claude, I say, can you please run the skill that does this thing? And it will go and use that skill or something that you've created before. So again, if I'm talking a language which is foreign to you, hear me out. I'm trying to help people through a progression of, we started off just using AI like a chatbot or a better email writer. To get better at AI or to get more value from AI, we need to start going into intentional prompting. And then number 3 will be connected data. We start to actually connect our data, because AI that knows a process is all good. But AI that knows a process, and it knows my email inbox or my calendar or my meeting transcripts or my CRM, is significantly better. And I want to show you that example today as well. And then if we can connect that with our skills and our workflows, we get even more power, eventually moving towards serious AI agents and AI assistants. I talked about that idea of the 25 agents for a lawyer, to an absolutely integrated workforce where we've got human and agent working 24/7 or throughout the day. So the real value, I think, when I say real value, what I mean by that is some serious firepower, some serious time savings, some absolutely imagination of work will start here. So job number 1 that I want to share is just this idea of web scraping. And it's actually a lesson of a customer that started small. I don't know about you and your business, but the internet has so much data on it. Everything from people use the web for researching, say I look online for the news, everything from the news to RSS feeds to pricing calculators from courier systems through to anything, auctions through to wineries, right? Whatever is on the web. Sometimes we use that data for our business. This particular customer came to us and we pulled together a web system. So web scraping system saves 2,000 hours a year. Started simple with checking public information, and the owner saved about 4 to 8 hours a week with the first start. He was so stoked that he got that time saving, and he wanted to keep moving ahead, right? So then the lesson was, we didn't know what the final result was going to be. We started with the one thing, which was just the web scraping, which took web data into a spreadsheet. Then the next thing happened, which was, what do I do with that spreadsheet? I might actually, this just goes to my staff members who then have to act on it. And we start to chat to each other. We say, actually, what if I was to get some data in the spreadsheet, and if the data says this value, can I automate an email to the supplier automatically? And I say, yeah, absolutely. So one thing led to another. Over about 10 weeks, we went from about an 8-hour a week saved to literally about 40 hours of value saved. The next lesson or next customer example I want to share is about this idea of recorded sales calls. And it's really not just a lesson of recorded sales calls, it's actually a lesson of data. There's a saying that I heard and I really like, which is that data is the oxygen for AI. Data is the oxygen for AI. If you think about humans, we need oxygen. AI also needs oxygen, right? And that oxygen is data. It's really back to that staying. If I was to go here, if you think about what this means is essentially the better that the AI knows you, the better it can perform. Not just you, but your business, if you think about that, right? So if you think about that, we go, okay, if AI is going to be effective, just like a human, if I was to hire the most smartest IT engineer tomorrow, but I gave him no access to my CRM, is he going to do a good job? If I gave him no inbox, like he couldn't actually send emails, read emails, he's just sitting there in a chair, kind of overhearing anything, like he's not going to be good. No matter how good he is, it doesn't matter if he can't actually do the work, right? In the same way, AI agents or AI, sort of people think of it like a stuck in a chatbot, whereas we need to think data. So the reason why I say that is preface this one, which is recorded sales calls double the sales volume of a client, and they surface business insights. I'll tell you what I mean by that. After each call, so start with a sales team, right? 4 people or 5 people. They were already recording their phone calls. Those recordings were just sitting on the shelf doing nothing. They were there for compliance purposes. But of course, AI can transcribe phone calls. We started to experiment what that looked like. So step number 1 was transcribe the phone call and then use AI to see if we could draft up a good email. Version 1 of that draft was pretty bad, but then over time, you feed the AI, you teach the AI the tone of voice, the product SKUs it should be thinking about, the policies, the procedures. We start to learn how to handle edge cases, and the AI gets really damn good. And it's actually at a point where it's about 99% accurate every single time. Because AI can be taught, and it just knows forever, unlike me, who I forget stuff all the time. Whereas so the AI starts to take value, it starts to, if you think about a 10-minute phone call, which has 10 minutes of drop off like admin, all of a sudden your 20-minute, 15, 20-minute write-up drops to 2 minutes. And that means you can double your sales volume. So in this particular business, roughly speaking, your productivity doubles overnight for this particular team. Well, not overnight, but over a period of time. That was by itself incredibly valuable. But of course, after 500 phone calls have been stored, we can start to think about this. And I say data is the oxygen for AI. Well, the data in this case was 500 transcripts. Inside of 500 transcripts is 500 conversations with our real customers. And those real customers are talking to my real staff, or their real staff in this case. Those real customers and staff are talking about products, objections, challenges, frustrations, questions. And we start to ask the AI, tell me what customers are asking us. What are the most common questions we're getting? What are the most common objections we're getting? Tell me how my team is discovering the needs of my customer. Are they missing opportunities to sell more? Are they listening? AI can potentially, or not potentially, is able to then surface insights, which then get circled back to the business, which can be used for marketing, training, coaching, recruitment, whatever. So you think about this, we now have ability to capture information or data. We then turn that into time saving for the staff. We then turn that into insights for the business. A business or a client of ours called Waterware. Let me just take a drink really quick. So I've been a bit sick this week, so my throat is quite dry. Waterware. A couple of stories from Waterware, actually. This is the first one of 2. A great client of ours when we were working with them on the IT side. So we knew their business quite well. And they had a challenge, a real world challenge, which was that they were getting orders for their business in sort of three ways. Number one is EDI, right? You're probably all familiar with that. Electronically, the orders go straight into the system, happy days, no admin needed. But customers are customers, and they send a big hunk of orders. Also, big chunk of orders came through PDFs. And as much as Waterware wanted to dictate their method, they just couldn't, right? For a number of customers, there's just a huge amount that will send PDFs for a long time. So for those PDFs, they had to employ 3 people to sit there, read the PDF, understand the business rules, check, do we have stock in this? Is that customer on stop credit? Are they even a customer? What happens if we don't have stock? Do we email all the rules that go around a PDF? And then it's also the data entry. So what we ended up doing was building out a system, a human in the loop system, which scraped that PDF. I talked about how we can use the skills from one to another. We had already done scraping for our own business. So it was just like, okay, we can scrape a PDF, extract the data from that PDF, and then run a whole bunch of automation logic against an ERP system database, and present to the staff member a simple button, which is approve. So what they did was they took that entire process, which was 3 people. What happened actually in this business, the real world reason why this was actually put forward as a priority is because of those 3 people, one of the girls got pregnant, and she ended up going on maternity leave, leaving 2 girls. Then one of the other ladies, she resigned, leaving only 1 remaining. So I went from 3 people down to 1 in a span of about 3 months, and kind of got caught off guard. The volume was still there. Luckily, again, serendipitously, we were talking to them about AI stuff at the time, so we were already prepping for this a little bit. But essentially what happened was that this business was able to respond, not react. They ended up saying, can we quickly automate? I'd rather not have to rehire. So we did that. The 1 person remained, became the champion of their product. She then got promoted in the business, and they ended up backfilling. And it's only about a 0.5 FTE role now, down from 3. So you can think about like where the business not only saved money, but they got a whole new person in a brand new role, which was essentially a managing director's EA and special projects manager, of someone that's brilliant, knows their business inside out, 5 years in the company, very, very bright, very, very hungry. Took her out of like what was essentially a processing role, way under her pay grade, and now she's adding value back to the business to take them into their next level. That was unlocked because of AI and automation. There's just no other way that I can think of that would have happened. Another story here, and I hope you can hear this, is Darren. This is actually the Darren from Waterware. So hopefully you can hear this video. This is the second story I want to share. Hopefully you're getting something out of these stories and finding ways to apply them to your own business. Please tell me if you can't hear this.
The siloing of information was starting to create a key man risk in our business.
All good there.
Where not only if the person's away, you don't have the ability to get the information, but what if they're permanently away? My name's Darren Yeasley. I'm the director of Waterware. Waterware is a medium-sized family company. Our team's about 35 people. The key trigger was, it was quite selfish. I ran the technical team, and I had a lot of demands on, just because I'd been here so long, I had so much knowledge which had been built up over so many years. And I really recognized that there's a risk for the business. And so I started developing this knowledge base to help have like a database where all that information lived. Because of the way the database worked, you had to have a certain level of knowledge to be able to really understand what the database was saying. And so the advantage of having a chatbot is it puts it in natural language. So now you can have someone who's got a very low level of specific information about a particular product or whatever, and it can be explained to them in a way which they can understand. So Gandalf is a chatbot like ChatGPT, but it's trained specifically on our internal knowledge. So it allows us to have like an interface which is very easy and accessible for everybody. For instance, you'll get a customer inquiry where they've got a problem with an appliance. You can ask Gandalf what that problem is. It'll explain what the solution is. It'll tell you what the spare part number is. It'll tell you whether you've got it in stock, and if you've already shipped it to the client, it'll give you the tracking information. all from one interface. Yeah, so I found the process very easy. I think from concept to first live working model, it's like 4 or 5 weeks, I think. It was amazing. Never really knew that this type of technology was so accessible. And it wasn't until we talked to the team at IT360 that they really opened my eyes and thought, oh wow, actually this is much more achievable than it had ever been in the past, and for a reasonable cost. And so when we looked at actually how much it cost to develop this type of technology and implement it, the value proposition was just, it was a no-brainer.
You're muted.
Hey, we're back. Awesome. I love that story because firstly, I know the business and I kind of am very close, obviously getting really invested in the business. But it's just an unlock again, technology for that business. If you think about the principle you just heard there, a business with knowledge, all of us have knowledge, and typically it's bottlenecked with a couple of people. It could be the owner, it could be a team or a long-standing employee, and then his challenges are almost ubiquitous. Everyone has them. Knowledge locked up. The data is there, but no one uses it, or there's a technical barrier to getting that data. For the first time ever, AI is kind of allowing, in a sense, I won't say like this is like the lowest person, like I'm just saying the most junior person, to come in on day one and say, tell me about this, go. And having an AI agent that knows the business, knows the data, knows the business rules, to do those things that you heard about. When in history have we had that ability before? And again, he talked about this idea of Gandalf. It was a custom built app. Not everyone needs a custom built app, but some people do need that. Some people will want a custom app because a chatbot simply won't do it. So I wanted to share that example as well. And I know that we're running out of time, and I do want to make sure that we have any questions or that have come in or will come in. I'd love to answer them. But in a sense, I have so much more to talk about, but I want to make sure that we give some room for some Q&A and respect the time. Another example, excuse me, I have been sick this week, so please excuse me for coughing. Another example that is actually really recent for me is, or for us, I should say, is actually, I talked about the cut, right? Now the create. Now in this example, it's the create. It's how can we use AI to create value? And for this particular client, their business delivered you think about the car industry. This is not the car industry, but just think about the car industry where they import cars, they sell cars, and then they make money not just on the sale, the margin of the car, but the after sale service, right? So similarly, this particular business sold a big solution, but they had no after sale service. They could do the after sales service, but it was very human intensive. And it was to do with reporting, and it was some intelligence they had to put into this reporting, et cetera, et cetera. So they made their money with projects, but it was very lumpy. She wanted to pull in a recurring revenue line item, but it was a bit chicken and egg for her. She said, I could start selling this, but it's only going to be $100 a month, $200 a month for this sort of report. So I need to sell a lot of that to sort of justify the first person, and the person is going to be 100K plus. So could we look at AI? And so essentially, this particular business, and again, think about your own company here, this particular business was able to work with me on building out an AI process, an AI agent report to create that report with the intelligence that they needed. So now comparatively to the human that have had to hire, I suppose, being able to actually grow their revenue into new areas off the back of an AI process, right? So again, their business is doing what they do. They're just now able to scale even more or add new line items that would have been hard to sell, but also keep customers stickier as well through AI. So an additional high margin add-on service through AI. So is there an area where maybe you have an area like that where maybe was prohibitive, or you could go into a new market or something like that, and AI could be the help to do that. Another couple of examples. This is becoming very, very popular. I'm hearing all the time is where we have spreadsheets. We're turning spreadsheets into dashboards. So traditionally, we have these spreadsheets that's full of data. We get it out of an ERP system, out of a accounting system, whatever. We manipulate these spreadsheets. All the spreadsheets go stale really fast. I was in a customer's office the other day. Oh, sorry, just yesterday morning. It's more for inventory, and he said, "Man, my inventory goes stale within a week. I can't live in a spreadsheet. I need a dashboard." So this is an example of the ability to turn spreadsheets into decision-making dashboards, insights, something that's real time, something that can show you colors, and it can be updated automatically so the staff can see it. This is going to be very easy, and this could be a $10,000 problem. And I think the last example I want to share, even though I do have a few more slides, I want to wrap it, is an example that Cal and I both met with a customer back, I think it was in February this year, about 80 staff. We ended up being in a room with about 13 of their managers. So we went in for a workshop. They wanted us to give them insights, to share. They were open-minded, but they were in their own language. They were dinosaurs. They didn't know what AI was about or how to do anything about it. Through the process of a 2-hour session, we shared stories like the stories I'm sharing now. We also specifically looked at their business ahead of time, and we prepared for that workshop. And we ended up going around the office, and we found out where everyone's at. And one particular guy, I can remember across the corner from me, he said, one of the challenges we have is that we've got 11 people sitting in our customer service department. 11. And don't worry, they're amazing, don't get me wrong. But there is a bit of friction with a particular thing, which is that we get calls about parts. Customer says, "I need a new valve, I need a new wheel, I need this, that. And that's a real dog, because parts are, well, firstly, not everybody knows all the products. Secondly, not everyone knows where the products are. The products are all sitting in PDF spreadsheets from suppliers. Someone has to hang up the phone, go into SharePoint, or tap their colleagues and say, "Do you know anything about the blah, blah, blah something system?" "Oh yeah, it's in a folder in SharePoint under this particular file." They go in, find the PDF, scroll to page 67. Oh, that's the part number, which might be right or wrong. And so this was how they did things. Had a huge overhead. And you think, why can't we solve it differently? And yeah, the answer is yes. Could AI do that? So we talked about it, and we actually validated that they spent about 20 minutes to look for a single part on average, some faster, some slower. And the volume was something like 100 calls per day. So this equates, if you do a quick math on that, it was about 8,000, 10,000 man hours per year just to find parts. And so a very, very interesting use case. And AI, I can tell you, would eat that for breakfast. It just becomes like an AI system. Put our dollar, if we can crack, if you think about this for yourself, if we could crack the knowledge base of that, put those PDFs, that context, that knowledge into an AI agent or an AI brain, allow the team to search for that, the same search they're doing. So instead of hunting through SharePoint, they ask an AI agent, "Customer needs a new wheel for this product number. Please help me find it." Go. 5 seconds later, oh, here's the part numbers, here's the associated part numbers, and here's what we've done recently. The last 5 customers that have ordered this part also ordered these 3 parts as well. That's insight. That's time saved, and it's just unbelievably more valuable than the old way of doing things. We're at the top of the hour, and I really wanted to, I guess I'll leave you with a question. The next topic of discussion should be and is around AI agents. I can't cover it today. I wish I could, but I know we've run out of time. If you reach out to us on email or whatever, if you're interested in this, I'm happy to do another webinar where I might actually do something specific on AI agents, because that's where we go to the next level again. I talked about this idea of AI working for you 24/7, certainly a world that we're in, and I'm starting to use AI agents for myself personally, for our team, CRM reviews, SEO reviews, calendar fill, phone calls, all sorts of things. There's an old way of doing things and a new way of doing things. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. and just ask a couple of questions. Again, back to you as a manager or the leader. In that Section AI course, in that Section AI report this year, they talked about the number one predictor of value for business, which is really whether the manager expects their team to use it. So put this replace manager with leader. If the owner expects, if you as an owner expect your team to use it, this is the number one. It's something like a 2.6 times more likelihood that the team will adopt it, will enjoy it, will love it, will get better at it. So firstly, ask yourself the question, what do I want from AI? Do I want my team to be using this? Do I expect it? Do I talk about it in my staff meetings? Is it part of my team's KPIs? Think about that. As a business, we offer services around this. Many businesses are doing this on their own. We've heard stories. Cal and I have heard at least 2 stories this year where companies have tried to do this themselves. They've gone a year and they've said, quote unquote, we've burnt $100,000 and got nowhere. This stuff is sometimes easy and sometimes really difficult. It really depends on the use case. It's like a builder. I guess, am I trying to build a house or a garden shed? It's like I can actually sleep in both, but they're very different beasts. It's one thing to like write an email with AI, and it's another thing to replace or to completely change your workflow, reinvent a business with AI. Very different skill sets. So I would say, go, what I want you to do next is to take some encouragement, which is go first. Lead by example. Find your champions. In all the research and my experience and my own experience personally, as well as customers, you're going to have that 1 or 2 people in your business that are wanting to put their hand up. They're curious. They're the ones that want to contribute. Number 3, to audit your friction. So find those 2, 5, 10 places where your team is spending the time where it shouldn't be anymore. Find that $10,000 problem, because it's going to be there. In fact, I reckon you'll have 10 of them around. The more you start looking, the more you start realizing there's actually a lot more than you realized. Run some sort of pilot. Put 30 days on it. If you're talking to me in June 21st and you haven't found your $10,000 problem yet, why? Do you not believe that there's a $10,000 problem in your business? Did you get distracted? Was there a higher priority? Don't know. It's up to you. But I would encourage you to put some timeline on it. If you can't do this yourself, bring expertise. This is again where my offer would come in. Sometimes compressing the path from months to weeks is actually where you get the value, because some businesses, and again, it's not everyone, but some businesses actually costs more to not do anything than it does to bring in someone external. There's kind of 3 things I want to just quickly share, which is that Cal and I do a leadership workshop. I talked about that, a 2-hour session. We normally charge $1,500 for it, but for people that attend the webinar, happy to do $1,000 for this. Cal and I will both turn up if we can make the time work. We often prepare for that too, so we've put in quite a few hours, usually a lot more than $1,000 worth of time. Next is like an opportunity discovery. We typically, and this is just typical, we go deeper. This is where companies want to go beyond a chatbot. They want to put in actual products or whatever. We have to workflow map, look at systems, data, use cases, risks, build options, pull together a practical round. It's usually between 3 and 7K. It can be a bit more, but usually it's within that, depending on the case. And then we often build. Okay, we're builders. We're people that, as I said before, get our hands dirty. We jump in. We help customers that want a head start, a leg up. Often they might be running with the chatbot adoption, or they might roll out Claude or Copilot. But someone else needs to run the automations, needs to think through data, risk. How do we actually validate these things are working? So we bring in our team, and we can work with small automations through to full-on 6-figure projects that are like full-on applications, because people need that. And obviously every project has an ROI. We don't just throw a project. Again, it's similar, different to IT. Sometimes IT is like a necessity. You need a server because you need the outcome. AI is a little different in my mind. I love to search for ROI. I love to search for, can we add value to your organization? So that 10 grand you spend should turn into 20 or 30 or 50 over time. So it's a little different. We as a business want our customers to win. It should be a partnership, should be a long-term win. So the last thing I would say, if you wanted to, you can book a 20-minute call. I can send this out as well. Callum no doubt will be emailing out. I don't know if this will work on your phone, to be honest, but I think it might. If you want to book a call, you're more than welcome to. And on that note, we're right on the money of 1 o'clock. I am happy to stick around for a couple of questions if you want to. Otherwise, I want to say thank you so much for your time, attendance today. I really appreciate it. I hope you got something out of today. And again, I'll be around for another few minutes. So if anyone had any questions, you're more than welcome to drop them in the chat. I've got I'll let you run at 1 o'clock. Thank you, team. Cheers.